Hello and good evening from a not so rainy South Croydon. What a difference 48 hours makes. Right, so there's quite a few things that I need to address, and obviously, as I've said before, it's a lot quicker to rather, you can say a lot more in words than you can when writing. So the first thing to say is actually, how do I do this? Actually, I'm going to come back to the first thing that I would say, and I sort of start from where I left off. Right, so I posted earlier on Facebook, because at the minute I'm going to the shop, and to say I am exhausted is undermining the term exhausted, right? But nevertheless, I have to do what I have to do. So I'm going to pick up some stuff for my sister. But I posted, and the reason I posted was because in a way I want to make a point, because I think when I write, people don't get it. People, it's sort of like people would put emotion behind what I have to say, when there is no emotion involved. It's just practicalities. So maybe if I have time, when I get back, I'll post something from the book, because the book serves to vindicate me. So in the book, I talk about, in chapter 13, about work, because at the minute I'm doing this particular job, and it's horrible. The fabric is so horrible. It took me 3 days to do something that should have taken me just 1 day, and obviously I'm not the kind of person, I don't enjoy such tasks. So that's just as an example. So in the chapter on work, I talk about I ask the question, what is worse than misery? Is there anything worse than misery? So that's in saying that sometimes the jobs that people choose to do, they do it because they think they have no other choice in life. So in other words, people choose misery because they think that is the only option they have, when there are other options. It's just that they're not brave enough, or they're not, I don't know, they don't have the wherewithal to go and make a different choice. So right, so for me, I'm a practical person. I'm not an emotional person. So for me, death is preferable to misery. That's how I look at it. So when I talk in terms of practicalities. I don't talk in terms of, I'm feeling so emotional, I can do away with myself, or anything like that. I think in terms of practicalities. But I posted earlier because I know that people would think, oh my gosh, she's going to do something, this, that, the other, which I'm not. Everything that I do, it's between me and God, basically. So the situation that I'm in, the only person, or if you want to call God a person, a being, the only being who can fix it is God. It's the same thing that I say about my health. I say, if I have to go to a doctor, if I need to see a doctor, then I have failed. So I've got the same attitude with everything. It's like things that are not within my control are for God to sort out. So therefore, the situation I'm in at the moment with my sister, it is not of my control. If I was that kind of person, I could pick myself up and go home, and that would be the solution. And people would say to me, well, why don't you just do that? Well, that would be wicked, wouldn't it? I'm not selfish in that kind of way. So the only solution is for God to intervene. So that's where I was coming from. But I know, because I am streets and miles ahead of the game, I know, because I've sort of the past few months I've been getting people saying to me, why don't you do this, why don't you do that, and blah blah blah, and assuming that assuming weakness when there is no weakness, obviously there are certain things that you can, within your limitations, things that you can do, things that you can't do. And one of the things that I cannot do is not necessarily that I can't make my sister better. That's not up to me, because that's up to her, that's up to God, that's whatever. The only person I can take responsibility for is myself. So I posted really to make people think. That's what I do on Facebook. I post specifically, exclusively to make people think, not to tell anybody what to think. But I know I'm going to like now I'm on my way to the shop and I'm not wearing a mask, and the law says you must wear a mask. And in nearly a year, I have not worn a mask. So there's no such thing as must. I can choose to wear a mask, I can choose not to wear a mask, and yes, there are consequences. Right, but my thing is, in a way, I'm a really terrible person. I have contempt for people who have no respect for their health, but at the same time, they're running around trying to save their lives. Because they're not trying to save other people's lives by wearing masks. They're trying to save their own lives. And they're running around. They don't have respect for their health. And they expect people like me to be considerate of them. And I've said before, and people will think I'm cruel. For me, I don't care who chooses to live, who chooses to die. You got one life, it's yours to do with it as you please. So I just think it's funny, but at the same time, as I said, I've got contempt for people who they will eat themselves half to death, take drugs, smoke, drink, whatever it is they do, no exercise, lifestyle choices, but at the same time, you're not wearing a mask, this, that, and the other. I have no respect for such people. So, hi guys. So, like I said, I posted, and that's just to make people think, because as I've said, I'm tired of people telling me you need to rest, you need to, whatever it is you need to do, or making excuses, pitching in. Nobody's inviting them to comment, pitching in and offering advice, and then when I pull them up and say, well, why don't you do this or that? It's a case of, well, I would, but there's we're under lockdown, there's a virus, this, that, and the other. Now, I'm not a weak person, and I have completely different standards. Completely. I mean, I don't really mix with people. And the reason I don't mix with people is because I have completely different standards that people can't live up to, right? And when I say things like this, people think I'm arrogant. I'm not. I know my level and I know myself very well. And so, pretty much I'm looking at everything. And the thing that I wanted to talk about first of all is yesterday's inauguration. I'm going to have a good laugh with you about that. Right, the reason, the thing I want to laugh about is how quickly people are turning around and complaining about being misled. Oh, Q said this one said that. Why are you sitting listening to other people? We have a brain, you're supposed to be able to figure things out independently. And so I'll come back to that in a moment, but like I said, I'm just sort of at the minute trying to lay down my standards, and more often than not, I am offended by people. I find really people is like an affront when people bring their standards to me, right? Because I operate at a completely different level. You'd have to be around me to know what I'm talking about. But and so. When I post, very rarely am I sort of in a state of woe is me. I'm just putting things there because, like the post I posted earlier, like I said, if God doesn't kill me, then I'll do it myself. And but that's the relationship, if you want to call it that I have. I'm very much in his face. It's like, you need to sort this out. So I am now on my way to the shop. I hadn't planned to leave so early, but I think Mother can pick up my vibes because it's funny. Like I said in the post, I was close to finishing off when she contacted me, and she starts showering praises upon me and the likes because of what I'm doing for my sister. But it took her a long time to get it. I mean, at one point I blocked her from calling me because she completely didn't get it. So she called me again this evening and said, right, when I go to the shop, to call her, because she's actually seeing the situation and the fact that it's just me doing everything and nobody else pitching in. And on top of everything that I've got to do, she's seeing that it's not an ideal situation. Now for me, I'm the kind of person I will get on and do what I need to do. But there comes a time when I will say, hang on a minute, how long is this going to go on for? Because as I said, in a way, I have chosen the situation because I could easily just pick up my stuff and leave my sister to fend for herself and go home. But that wouldn't be the right thing to do. You don't do that to people. And so, like I said, the only one who can rectify the situation or get me the hell out of there is God. So occasionally I feud with him, for want of a better term. So at the minute we're having a standoff, and he knows that if I say I will do something, that I will do it. And so he, if you like, he sent Mother to the rescue after a fashion, which I think is funny. Because I have a track record and I know exactly what's going on. So one of the funny things about this is sometimes often when I post, I know there's a lot of people who don't believe in God, and then you've got other people who believe in God in a childish kind of way or in a superstitious kind of way. So sometimes I throw things out there to sort of if you like, it's like throwing a grenade in the water and all the fish come jumping out. Some are dead, some are shell-shocked, whatever. So I'll post things like that. And sometimes as well, when I do it because I anticipate the outcome. And in a way, not that I don't have the power to make people mock or to take me seriously or otherwise. Not that it matters. It's the same whether you mock or whether you take me seriously. I don't mind. But sometimes I put things there so that people can, if you like, show their hand. So now I'm going to talk about yesterday's inauguration. And it's just how people straight away have lost faith. Oh, it didn't happen. And it's like, you think, like I said, I've got a track record with God. And there are things that I am supposed to do, which is why I want the system to collapse and to collapse as quick as possible. And people would argue, oh, but you just want it to collapse for yourself, for your benefit. Well, you know what? The system as it is isn't benefiting me. And even so, the people who it's structured for are not making the most out of it, so it may as well collapse so that people like me can go and do what we need to do. So, whereas everybody is fearing and panicking and disappointed and saying, oh, Trump didn't do anything, there is no Q, there is no this, there's no that. You see, this is the problem with human beings. Rather than, I've been using the analogy of oil in lamps. Rather than getting their own oil, people sit there, they go and find somebody who's got a lamp, and they go and, if you like, crowd behind that person. And then when the lamp starts to flicker or starts to run out of oil, they start to curse that person, or they will try to go somewhere else and parasite off somebody else. And so I've been watching and studying, looking at comments on YouTube from people who were firm believers that yes, on the 20th of January, that's when everything is going to go down. But what people don't seem to realize is, and again, it's from having a juvenile, childish, if you like, understanding of God. He doesn't do things like that. So, I mean, I've been screenshotting and logging and making notes of comments and posts that people are putting up. It doesn't, what did they say? Rome wasn't built in a day. So because nothing went off yesterday, it's like, oh, that's it, it's finished, it's over. Really, like I said, I go from the perspective. I don't look at what other people are doing. I don't take on board what others are saying. When I go and look for things online, or I'm looking for evidence, I'm not looking at something to believe in. I'm looking to see what others are saying about it. I already know what I know, but I'm looking to see who else has come to that same understanding, or perhaps it might be someone who's got a different piece to the puzzle, and that's how we do it. We don't wonder about looking for people to hang on to, like little birds in a nest waiting for mommy to come back with the worms and feed us. We go off independently, and we go and we use our own initiative, and we find the truth that we are looking for. And so I know, based on what I've seen, based on the way people have been conducting themselves, it is not going to go down how people expect it to go, because not all deserve to benefit from whatever is going to come in the near future. Because there's a lot of ingratitude. People get to show their colors. People are mocking Donald Trump. I don't go into the queue this and the queue that or anything. The same, I say I don't do religion, I don't do church. I, if you like, find pieces of the puzzle and I put them together, and then the other pieces of the puzzle will find me as I'm ready for them. That's how I go about doing things. So I'm not tied up with anybody else. Whatever information I find, I will put it on Facebook. I will share it with people. But it doesn't matter what's going on. I am not going to lose confidence in anything that I believe in because of how things look, or because of how things didn't go according to my expectations. So in saying that, I posted from the perspective, so it's like playing Russian roulette, and I posted because I know there are people, not just the believers, because what you do is when you don't go to church, there are people who will think the reason you are going through whatever you're going through is because you've stopped going to church and God has forsaken you, right? That's what you will get from the religious idiots. And then from the ones who are totally who totally don't believe in God. They will rejoice over you and say, ha, so much for your God. What is your God doing for you? And what people don't realize is you've got to be put in a position where you show your hand. It's like with all these fairy tales. You've got the good sister and the wicked sister. And always you know how the story goes. The good one does it from the goodness of her heart. The wicked one does it because she's seen what the good sister has received, but she doesn't have any understanding of that you get what you basically, as you sow, so you reap. Doesn't have any understanding of that. And so this is why you will get people who, like I said, you get the very religious ones who have no real understanding. They think that their safety is in going to church. And then you get the ones who don't believe in God, who rejoice because they want to see that your God has failed you. Now, I don't expect God to fail me. I just like, I'm not the kind of person, I don't like to be in situations forever. I like to choose, for example, I like my own company. And ordinarily, were I not with my sister, I would be in my own environment, home alone, which is what I do at Christmas. Every Christmas I look forward to spending the time by myself. So that is what I would be choosing to do. So whatever actions I take in my life are things that I choose to do. I'm not the type of person who I'm never under obligation to do what pleases anybody. I do what I want to do, and I allow others the freedom of doing what they want to do. So this way nobody can turn around to me and say, oh, but if it was me, I'd do that for you. So, like for example, in my sister's situation, people have said to me, oh, I'm sure she'd do the same for you. And I've said, no, she wouldn't, because I would not put myself in a position. And people say, oh, what, you don't know. We all get ill, blah, blah, blah. And again, I said, this is where my standards are completely different. I don't think in terms of, well, you know, this might happen or that might happen. I do what I have to do, and then what I cannot do, that is for God to take care of. So this is why I have fantastic health. I do what I have to do, and then I leave him to take care of the rest. So, I think I've gone all over the houses and everything with what I'm saying here. But if you don't, like I said, I'm streets and miles ahead of the game, right? And people would think that I think too much of myself. I don't think too much of myself. I know exactly what my position is. And so I use the analogy sometimes. You are standing on top of a cliff. You can see everything beneath. If you are standing beneath the cliff, you can't see what's on top. Right? So I look at it that I'm standing on top of a cliff and I can see everything people say to me. Yes, I've heard it before. Yes, I know. You know, and again, people would argue, oh, but we don't know everything. People who say we don't know everything are the ones who don't know everything, who would like to give the impression that they do know more than you do. And so, like I said, with just overnight, just looking at the comments and the responses from people, whatever's to come is not going to go that way, because all do not deserve to benefit at the same level. It's a bit like if I've spent 12 hours working and someone else has spent 2 hours working. We don't deserve the same wages, especially if it's on an hourly rate. We haven't done the same level of we haven't put the same amount of effort in, and we will get what we put in. And like I said, I see a lot of ingratitude, a lot of mocking, a lot of, just negativity coming from people who on the 19th they were coming across as all believing and trusting in the plan, in quotes, and then suddenly they're turning on other people. Oh, this one is a deceiver, this one, he lied to us. Oh, I can't believe you still believe this and that. Well, there are things that God told me when I was in my 20s that are to come. He didn't say when. I use the example of Moses. He didn't tell him it was going to take 40 years to come out of the wilderness, right? To lead the Israelites out of Egypt. He didn't say, oh, by the way, it's going to take 40 years, because I don't think Moses would have said yes to that, right? So it is not for any of us to say when something is, sort of like trying to force God's hand. But in my situation, it is very, if you could see the amount of living space that I have, I don't have any living space. I sleep in the same area in which I work, right? I said to someone earlier that a battery hen has got a better quality of life than me right now, right? And it's ridiculous, because I am still paying. I haven't slept in my flat for like 6 months. I haven't slept in my flat for 6 going on 7 months, and I'm still paying the rent on it, right? And so there are certain things that I think, hang on a minute, this is not right. This situation needs to be rectified, because I'm not in it because of any fault of my own. I'm in it because my sister's not well, and I am the only person who's bothered, who's willing to look out for her, and I mean it literally. I mean, my mother said she would come, but circumstances are that she couldn't come because she's got her own health issues, and but she said once she's clear, she'll come, and she's 78 years old. I think it's disgraceful that it's a 78-year-old woman who's got to come and help out, if you like, because that will then give me an opportunity to go back to my place and sort out what I need to sort out while she stays with my sister. But blimey, she's ringing me, but I'm not going to answer. I'll call her back. But, so it's a lot of things. There's a lot of things to take into consideration. But I think part of the biggest problem in the world is with religious people, equally with people, with unbelievers, but not just unbelievers. But, people who believe what they believe, or who don't believe what they choose not to believe, for lack of evidence. That's fine. But it's when you've got that nastiness about you that is the problem. And like I said, I know there are people thinking the reason why, and possibly family members even, the reason why I'm landed in the situation with my sister, it is divine punishment because we chose to walk away from church. And as well, because I like to, not so much brag, but I do, whatever it is that God does for me, I'm not bashful at talking about it. There are people, especially men, I could go into a rant about them, where they're not good enough, and so they, again, I said this, like, this is why some men like single mothers, because they're soft targets. So it's a thing where, because they are not worthy, basically, they're not good enough for me, they would like to see my demise. But if you are the kind of person and you have it in your mind or in your heart to rejoice over someone, or to even to be hoping for somebody's downfall, then you should be able to look at yourself and understand why why you don't have a woman, or opposite direction, why you don't have a man, or whatever it is, you don't have friends or people around you, etc. Now, I don't have people around me, but that's choice, because like I've said, I don't have a lot in common with people because I have completely different standards, and my standards are such that I don't need people around me, right? So even like the situation with my sister, it's not so much that I can't manage, it's that there isn't enough time in the day to do everything, right? So there are things that I need to get done work-wise as well, but hello doggy, hey. But there are things that I need to get done for myself, and I can't do them because that time is given over to my sister. So I have very little time for myself, if at all, any time. And I think, if I say so myself, and God can judge me on this one, it's not actually fair. And in me saying it's not fair, it's not that I'm complaining, or I don't want anybody to tell me it could be worse, because there are people in this country and that country who are suffering. That's not anything to do with me. I only ever talk specifically about my situation. I don't look at other people and say, oh, it could be worse. I look at my situation and it could be better. I could be at home in peace, living the life, being mistress of my 24 hours as it once was. I could be doing that. I could be doing that right now. I could, like I said, I could pick myself up and go home if I choose to. But I'm not wicked like that. And so at such a time as things, if you like, things come back round to what they are supposed to be. Obviously, I'm not a hypocrite. My sister knows how I feel. And people would say to me, oh, but you've got to think about her. You shouldn't let her, or rather, you should pretend that you're enjoying being there and all of that. But if I'm tired, I'm tired. If whatever it is, I don't pretend. So, and I think also, I said this in the post, that part of the process is for people to learn. Because the thing that my mother said to me was that she speaks to people, and they say I'm one in a million. Now, I'm the kind of person, I don't care for compliments. Whether people compliment me or criticize me, it's the same difference. I know what I am, and I don't need people to reinforce it for me. But nevertheless, she said people are saying that I'm one in a million, and there aren't many people who would give up their life to go and look after their sister, kind of thing. Well, I haven't given up my life as such, because I still have my work responsibilities, and I'm doing that in a confined space. And like I said, if you see how much space I'm actually living in, I work and sleep in the same place, so I don't have any room for maneuver or even to relax or anything. And that has been my situation for the last 6 months. So anyway, just to wind up, I will say to the very religious people, if you rejoice over other people because you think you've got it good, God is blessing you and God is cursing them, like I said, because this is how some religious people think. And it's like, oh yeah, if they were to go back to church, all would be well. No, because church was crap in the end. Right? And to the ones who don't believe in God, if you think, it just goes to show there is no God because God ain't helping her, you need to reassess as well. Right? So sometimes, for me, this situation is not about me. It's nothing to do with me. There's a lot of people who should be looking at themselves, should be questioning themselves, and making of it whatever it is they will. But unfortunately, this is how God works. Sometimes you get placed in a position for the benefit of other people, so that He can judge them. Right? So I think I will wind up here. But like I said, as regards whatever's going to happen in the world, I came to the conclusion, independently, that it's not going to work out for everybody. It's not going to be good for everybody, because not everybody is deserving. Right? You don't... it's a bit like... you don't do any of the work, but you're turning up and you expect to get your belly full. Other people plant the food, make the food, and you just turn up to eat. Doesn't work like that. Everybody's got to put their bit in. So as regards the future collapse of society, which will happen, it's not going to be good for everybody. But I can tell you it's going to be spectacularly good for myself, because I prepared for it. And I mean to make the most out of it. Anyway, I've arrived at my destination, so you guys take care. See you. Bye-bye.